Hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to talk about an amazing book by best-selling author Mitch Albom, in which he shares the pearl of wisdom passed on to him by his Professor Morrie Auschwitz before he finally died one fine morning. We all come across so many people walking around with a meaningless life. They seem half asleep, even when they are busy doing things they think are important. This is because they are chasing the wrong things all the time. Professor and Mitch have these intense talks with each other every Tuesday, in which Professor Morrie shares his personal life experiences and draws some really great life lessons out of them. If one could inculcate these values in one's life in real terms, then it's gonna be life-changing for that person. He or she will be able to live his or her life with purpose and meaning in it. The person will be able to live joyfully and completely without much complaints with any person or the life per se. First Tuesday, they talk about the world. In this session, Professor Morrie and Mitch talk about the worldly things and the people in it. Professor expresses his feelings about how people remain distant from each other all the time when they are alive, physically and emotionally both. He expresses his inability to understand why two sides experiencing a rough patch between them don't simply communicate with each other and solve their problems. Why do they allow false ideas and misinformation in their precious relationship? So according to him, communication is the key to keep relationships intact. At the sight of Professor Morrie crying for the mishap occurred in Bosnia, Mitch comes to a realization of death being a great equalizer. The one big thing that can finally make strangers shed a tear for one another. Otherwise, all our lives, we are just too busy with our errands and we don't want to listen to what others have to say. What are they going through? The most important thing in life is to learn how to give out love and to let it come in. Let it come in. We think we don't deserve love. We think if we let in, we'll become too soft. But love is the only rational act. We need to understand this. Also, the effect of silence on human relations has been talked about. Professor asks why we are embarrassed by silence. What comfort do we find in all the noise? Sometimes being silent too does the repairing of the ruptures in our precious relationships. Second Tuesday, they talk about feeling sorry for yourself. If you feel sorry for yourself, if there is anything to mourn about, then mourn, but don't drown yourself in it. Don't get consumed by it. Give it some time. Give yourself a good cry if you need it. But then stop mourning and concentrate on all the good things in your life. It would be really useful to put a daily limit on self-pity. Just a few tearful minutes and then on with the day. Third Tuesday, they talk about regrets. Do you have any regrets? Do you lament lost friends? Would you have done things differently? Would you be consumed with sad thoughts of all that you missed? Would you regret the secrets you had kept hidden? Well, the culture doesn't encourage you to think about such things until you are about to die. We are so wrapped with egotistical things: career, family, having enough money, meeting the mortgage, getting a new car, fixing the radiator when it breaks. We are involved in trillions of little acts just to keep going. So we don't get into the habit of standing back and looking at our lives and saying, "Is this all? Is this all I want? Is something missing?" Well, you need someone to probe you in that direction. It won't just happen automatically. Do you take care of others or take care of your inner child? Return to traditional values or reject tradition as useless? Seek success or seek simplicity? If you haven't asked yourself these questions, then you must ask and try to answer them. It's very important for your personal growth. Finding answers to these questions is like searching for meaning of life, and it helps you live more deliberately, joyfully, and completely. Fourth Tuesday, they talk about death. Everyone knows they are going to die, but nobody believes it. If we did, we would do things differently. There's a better approach: to know you're going to die and to be prepared for it at any time. That way you can actually be more involved in your life while you're living. So do it the Buddhist way. Every day have a little bird on your shoulder that asks, "Is today the day? Am I ready? Am I doing all I need to do? Am I being the person I want to be?" Once you learn how to die, you learn how to live. Why is it so hard to think about dying? Because most of us all walk around as if we are sleepwalking. We really don't experience the world fully because we are half asleep, doing things we automatically think we have to do. But facing death changes all that. You strip away all the unnecessary stuff and you focus on the essentials. Once you realize you're going to die, you see everything much differently. If you really listen to that bird on your shoulder, if you accept that you can die at any time, then you might not be as ambitious as you are. The things you spend so much time on, all this work you do, might not seem as important. You might have to make room for some more spiritual things. Now, do you understand how does this spiritual development help? You see, we all are deficient in some way. We are too involved in materialistic things, and they don't satisfy us. The loving relationships we have, the universe around us, we take these things for granted. This is where the spiritual development helps. You start appreciating things more. You start savoring simple stuff around you. Fifth Tuesday, they talk about family. There's no foundation, no secure ground upon which people may stand today if it is in the family. If you don't have the support and love and caring and concern that you get from a family, you don't have much at all. Love is so supremely important. So love each other or perish. Without love, we are birds with broken wings. Sure, people would come visit, friends, associates, but it's not the same as having someone who will not leave. It's not the same as having someone whom you know has an eye on you, is watching you the whole time. This is part of what a family is about. Not just love, but letting others know there is someone who is watching out for them. This is a kind of spiritual security. Nothing else will give you that. Not money, not fame. There's no experience like having children. There is no substitute for it. You can't do it with a friend. You can't do it with a lover. If you want the experience of having complete responsibility for another human being and to learn how to love and bond in the deepest way, then you should have children. you should have a family. 6th Tuesday, they talk about emotions. In this session, the emphasis is on learning to detach. You would be surprised, right? Talking about emotions and then emphasis is on detachment. Well, do it the Buddhist way. Don't cling to things because everything is impermanent. But detachment doesn't mean you don't let the experience penetrate you. On the contrary, you let it penetrate you fully. That's how you're able to leave it. For instance, take an emotion like love for a woman or grief for a loved one. If you hold back on the emotions, if you don't allow yourself to go all the way through them, you can never get to being detached. You're too busy being afraid. You're afraid of the pain. You're afraid of the grief. You're afraid of the vulnerability that loving entails. But by throwing yourself into these emotions, by allowing yourself to dive in all the way, over your head even, you experience them fully and completely. You know what pain is. You know what grief is. And only then can you say, all right, I've experienced that emotion. I recognize that emotion. Now I need to detach from that emotion for a moment. So that's how you experience all the emotions and be ready to detach. 7th Tuesday, they talk about the fear of aging. We can have a better perspective about aging. Why do we put so much emphasis on youth? You see, when we are young, we struggle a lot. We have feelings of inadequacy all the time. Most of the time, we feel miserable in our lives. Obviously, we are strong and energetic at our best. We have more confidence than ever to conquer the world. But we are not wise when we are young. We have very little understanding about life. Who wants to live every day when you don't know what's going on? When people are manipulating you, telling you to buy this perfume and you'll be beautiful, or this pair of jeans and you'll be sexy, and you believe them. It's such nonsense, right? We shouldn't fear from aging. We should rather embrace aging. As we grow, we learn more. If we stayed at 22, we'd always be as ignorant as we were at 22. Aging is not just decay, it's growth. It's more than the negative that you're going to die. It's also the positive that you understand you're going to die, and that you live a better life because of it. But then the obvious question would be, why do people always say, "Oh, if I were young again"? You never hear people say, "I wish I was 65." You see, this reflects unsatisfied lives, unfulfilled lives, lives that haven't found meaning. Because if you have found meaning in your life, you don't want to go back. You want to go forward. You want to see more, do more. You can't wait until 65. If you're always battling against getting older, you're always going to be unhappy, because it'll happen anyhow. It won't matter what you tell yourself. 8th Tuesday, they talk about money. You see, we have a problem. We put our values in the wrong things, and it leads to very disillusioned lives. We should rather enjoy simple pleasures like singing, laughing, dancing. Material things hold little or no significance. When you die, you can't take it with you. Actually, the thing is, we've been badly brainwashed. Owning things is good. More money is good. More property is good. More commercialism is good. More is good. This same thing has been repeated to us over and over again that we can't even think otherwise. The average person is so fogged up by all this, and that he has no perspective on what's really important anymore. It's not that we don't need any of these materialistic possessions in our lives. We do need them, but there is a limit. We should stop when we are sufficient of them with us. We should draw the line. We should be always wanting to gobble up something new, like new car, new property, etc. And then, this isn't it. The purpose isn't solved if we stay low-key. It becomes mandatory that we tell other people about it. Otherwise, that satisfaction of owning those new things is missing. The author has presented an interpretation of this tendency of ours. According to him, these people who give in to this Faustian bargain, actually they are hungry for love, and that they are accepting substitutes. They embrace these material things and expect a sort of hug back. But it never works this way. You can't substitute material things for love, or for gentleness, or for tenderness, or for a sense of comradeship. Money is not its substitute. Power is not its substitute. When you need it the most, neither the money nor power will give you the feeling you're looking for, no matter how much of them you have. There's a big confusion over what we want versus what we need. The truth is, you don't get satisfaction from these things. You actually get satisfaction from offering others what you have to give. It doesn't have to be money necessarily. Give it if you want, if you have enough of it, and someone is in desperate need of it. Otherwise, you could give your time, your concern, your storytelling. If you have some skill, let's say, you could go and teach the not-so-privileged ones and the deprived ones. In turn, you earn their respect by offering something you have. You could go to hospitals and shelters where there are many lonely people who only want some companionship. This is how you find a meaningful life. So devote yourself to loving others. Devote yourself to your community around you. And devote yourself to creating something that gives you purpose and meaning. Don't get yourself caught in the rat race to gobble up more and more. This is a smokescreen which needs to be broken. If you're trying to show off for other people at the top, forget it. They'll look down at you anyhow. And if you're trying to show off for people at the bottom, forget it. They will only envy you. Status will get you nowhere. Only an open heart will allow you to float equally between everyone. So give as much as you can. Giving to other people is what will make you feel alive. 9th Tuesday, they talk about how love goes on. Love is something which helps you stay alive even after you're gone. So spread love. Be fully in present. That means you should be with the person you are with. Many people with far smaller problems are so self-absorbed. Their eyes glaze over if you speak for more than 30 seconds. They already have something else in mind. A friend to call, a fax to send, a lover they are daydreaming about. So they have divided attention basically. Well, the problem is that they are in such a hurry. People haven't found meaning in their lives, so they are running all the time looking for it. They think the next car, the next house, the next job. Then they find those things are empty too, and they keep running. And once you start running, it's hard to slow yourself down. But slow down a bit. When someone wants to get ahead of you in traffic, let's say, instead of giving them the finger, you let them go and you smile. Don't be in so much hurry. Rather, put your energies into people. You see, we are great at small talk, isn't it? What do you do? Where do you live? We often ask others these questions, but rarely listening to someone without trying to sell them something, pick them up, recruit them, or get some kind of status in return. How often do we get this anymore? Sadly, not at all. Many visitors in the last few months of Professor Morrie's life were drawn not because of the attention they wanted to pay to him, but because of the attention he paid to them. Despite his personal pain and decay, this little old man listened the way they always wanted someone to listen. So give time to your spouse and kids, talk to them, kiss them goodnight, listen to your friends and family. It doesn't matter if you're able to help or not. Be emotionally available at least. Show your concern when needed. This is how you stay alive even after you're gone. The love you share remains alive forever in people's hearts. It goes on till eternity. 10th Tuesday, they talk about marriage. Marriage. Almost everyone has a problem with it. Some have problems getting into it. Some have problems getting out of it. There's a lot of commitment issue, especially in today's generation. In this culture, it's so important to find a loving relationship with someone because so much of the culture doesn't give you that. But the poor kids today, either they are too selfish to take part in a real loving relationship, or they rush into marriage and then 6 months later they get divorced. They don't know what they want in a partner. They don't know who they are themselves. So how can they know who they are marrying? It's sad because a loved one is so important. You realize that especially when you're not doing so well. You see, friends are great, but friends are not going to be there on a night when you're coughing and can't sleep and someone has to sit up all night with you, comfort you, try to be helpful. In a marriage, you get tested. You find out who you are, who the other person is, and how you accommodate or don't. There are not any rules as such which could tell you if a marriage is going to work. However, there are a few observations you can say, which have been found to be true about love and marriage. If you don't respect the other person, you're gonna have a lot of trouble. If you don't know how to compromise, you're gonna have a lot of trouble. If you can't talk openly about what goes on between you, you're gonna have a lot of trouble. And if you don't have a common set of values in life, you're gonna have a lot of trouble. Your values must be alike. And most important of all, your belief in the importance of your marriage. Professor Morrie personally thinks marriage is a very important thing to do, and you'll miss a hell lot of things if you don't try it. 11th Tuesday, they talk about our culture. Culture plays a very significant role in our lives. People are only mean when they are threatened, and that's what our culture does. That's what our economy does. Even people who have jobs in our economy are threatened because they worry about losing them. And when you get threatened, you start looking out only for yourself. You start making money a god. It's all part of this culture. Thus, it becomes very important that you build your own little subculture. Building subculture doesn't mean you disregard every rule of your community. For example, you don't go around naked. You don't run through red lights. The little things you can obey, but the big things, how we think, what we value, those you must choose yourself. You can't let anyone or any society determine those for you. For instance, in your old age, if you're not able to walk, if you wake up some mornings wanting to cry, there's nothing embarrassing or shameful about it. It is the same for women not being thin enough or men not being rich enough. It's just what our culture would have you believe. Don't believe it. Every society has its own problems. You can definitely move somewhere else if you don't like the society you currently live in. But then you'll have to deal with a whole new set of problems in the new society you move into. You can't keep running away, right? You have to work at creating your own culture. Another problem is that we don't believe we are as much alike as we are. Whites and blacks, Catholics and Protestants, Hindu and Muslims, men and women. If we saw each other as more alike, we might be very eager to join in one big human family in this world and to care about that family the way we care about our own. We all have the same beginning, birth, and we all have the same end, death. So how different can we be? So what's the solution to this problem? Solution is we can invest in the human family. Invest in people. Build a little community of those you love and who love you. In the beginning of life, when we are infants, we need others to survive. And at the end of life, when you find yourself in a not so good condition, you need others to survive. But here's the secret. In between, we need others as well. So be compassionate. Take responsibility for each other. If we only learned those lessons, this world would be so much better a place. Love each other or die. 12th Tuesday, they talk about forgiveness. Forgive yourself before you die. Then forgive others. Not everyone gets the time. Not everyone is lucky. There's no point in keeping vengeance or stubbornness. The things, pride, vanity, you so regret in your life. Why do we do things we do? It's not just other people we need to forgive. We also need to forgive ourselves. Yes, for all the things we didn't do, all the things we should have done. You can't get stuck on the regrets of what should have happened. That doesn't help you. Make peace with yourself and everyone around you. Remember the tension of opposites. You mourn your dwindling time, but cherish the chance it gives you to make things right. 13th Tuesday, they talk about the perfect day. Well, what is a perfect day? When would that perfect day come? Well, that perfect day would be the day when we'll make peace with the idea of dying. We are so afraid of the sight of death, isn't it? That's why as soon as someone dies in a hospital, they pull the sheets up over their head. They can't wait to get it out of their sight. People act as if death is contagious. We need to understand that death is not contagious. It's as natural as life. It's part of the deal we make. If we know in the end that we can ultimately have the peace with dying, then we can finally do the really hard thing, which is to make peace with living. It's natural to die. We think because we are human, we are something above nature. We are not. Everything that takes birth dies. As long as we can love each other and remember the feeling of love we had, we can die without ever really going away. All the love you created is still there. All the memories are still there. You live on in the hearts of everyone you've touched and nurtured while you were here. Death ends a life, not a relationship. So savor simple stuff. Try to look for perfection in an average day. A day is never a perfect day until we make it. 14th Tuesday, we say goodbye. After such intense talks with Mitch, finally Professor Morrie said goodbye. He gave the most important and valuable thing he had, that is, the wealth of wisdom. He asks the people to be more open, to ignore the lure of advertised values, to pay attention when your loved ones are speaking, as if it were the last time you might hear them. None of us can undo what we've done or relive a life already recorded. There's no such thing as too late in life. We can keep changing ourselves until the day we say goodbye and come out as a better person or an evolved individual. We can definitely change the way we spend our time on earth if we inculcate these values in our lives. So do read the book and change for good. Thank you guys, hope you liked the video. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, then subscribe immediately and like and comment too. And if you think this video can help others change their lives, then also share the video. Stay tuned for more book summaries like this. Thank you so much.